connected. And YouTube must be connected. There we go. All right, I see people. There's one on YouTube, so we must be good there. Hi, everybody. And let's see, on Facebook, it says we have 8 viewers.
Were those corrections, or do you just want to tell them?
I'll just go through them, but
Okay.
I want you to know about them too, so. Okay. Oh, we got someone tuning in from Billings today. Hey, fellow Montanan. Thank you for joining us. All right. The sound looks good on our end. The video looks good on our end. All the connections look good on our end. So, Facebook one. How is the Facebook one? Can someone tune in? Hi from Brentwood, New Hampshire. Hi, Patty. The frame rate on Facebook is running a little bit slow. Hi from Seattle. Hi, Sherry. All right, so we got Colorado on YouTube. So Facebook, you guys can tune in and let me know what you're seeing. It looks like it's mostly okay, but I am getting a little bit of frame rate. I don't know. It gives me these metrics and the frame rate doesn't look as happy as it normally does. On Facebook, doing good so far. I can hear you. Nice. Fine on Facebook. Occasional pause. Okay. If you guys continue to have that issue on Facebook, I'll watch it on my end because it looks like it's starting to kind of stabilize here on the frame rate. But if we have a lot of issues, then we can always just have everybody move to YouTube as well. We'll see. Because Facebook's a little sticky. Once you disconnect, like if you try and reset it, it gets crabby at you. So we don't want it to be crabby. Okay, so welcome to our first video for the Quiltworx box program for 2026. And today we're going to talk about, or we're going to teach you how to do the berry bramble, but there's a little bit of like housekeeping stuff I like to go through because a lot of people come into the program and they're new and they might need to know some new things. So we're going to start with a bit of housekeeping information first, and then Mom's going to open the box, show you what's in the box, and then we'll start the class. So very first thing I want to go over, I'm going to transition over here to the website. So on the Quiltworx website, if you go under products and click on products, let me refresh this page. Okay, right here under Quiltworx Originals, it says box subscriptions. If you click there, it takes you to our box program signups. I want everybody to understand that this is a different shopping cart than our regular program because it makes it a lot easier for us to manage both of them. And so once you click over here and you set up an account, it's going to be a different account. But if you use the same login information on both, then that's really helpful. But if you are happening upon this video and you're not part of the box program, and you think after watching us today or spending some time with us that you might want to try it out, this is where you need to go. The large box program is the video that we're doing today. The small box is next month. And the way there's a lot of details about how this whole program works down here. It's an annual sign up, and there's, like I said, the large and the small subscription options. There's 4 colorways of each project, although we have some of them that are going out of stock, just because we've sold out of certain colorways. And then there's, let's see, there's also pattern only options. So if you don't like the colorways that we have, there's also a pattern only box that you can get. You can pay in full upfront, or you can pay quarterly. And the quarterly requires a 25% deposit, and then with each of the shipments that you get, the balance is billed out. You can also, if you order something for all 4 quarters, then you'll also receive a free 48-piece 2.5-inch Quiltworx strip set. We'll talk about that in a second. And if you're looking for backing and fabric bundles, we have that information, or we have those products available as well. To find those, if you just come back up to these, you can see this backing and fabric bundle add-on. So that way, if you want to get some extra fabric or backing for your projects, you can. We encourage international subscribers. There is an international shipping policy that you need to read, and more information is included below for that. And then once you get down here, you'll start to see the different products. We staggered the large and the small box series because a lot of people wanted to do both. And if you're wondering what's in each box, if you click on, like, where I'm just going to go to the small box here and click on one real quick, it tells you everything here on the side. It tells you about what we think the retail value of the box is versus what you're paying for each of the boxes. So these are done at some really nice promotional pricing. If you scroll down, it covers all of the extra details for each specific box. So there's a lot of things in there, and we're going to show those to you in a second. And then there's colorways that you can choose. So as I'm scrolling down, these are the different colorways for the Q1 small box project. You can choose it. You can also add on a rulers template set if you want for that. You can do pre-cuts. So there's different add-ons that you can choose throughout the process. I've had a lot of people ask why it's not something where they can just click a button and sign up for the program and order the whole thing at once. And the reason why is because one of the things that we were asked about was if we could make this program flexible, meaning there was no pressure. So we tried really hard to build a no pressure program based on feedback from our customers when we set it up. You have to choose each quarter as a result. You get to choose the colorways, so your expectations are set for what you're getting. And then we include some little surprises in there. So we're going to go over those surprises here in a second. If you want to join us for this project and you haven't, and you don't want to do the box program, you still can do that. So on our website, Quiltworx.com, you can just go to patterns, and you can scroll down and find Berry Bramble here, and you can just order the pattern, and you can, it comes in the small 57-inch size, and then you can add the borders on to get to the size that you want. So that's another way that you can participate with us. It's great for people who want to use their stash and so forth. And then I do want to go over quick that one of the things that's included in your boxes is Quiltster. So if you are not familiar with what Quiltster is, it is a planning program where you can choose fabrics and see what your quilts are going to look like before you purchase the fabrics and before you make them. Everybody gets Quiltster for 3 months with each box subscription. So you can come in here to account, and if you click on account, there's a spot on here where you can put a coupon code in. So if you already have Quiltster, you can go add your coupon there. If you don't have Quiltster, you can just add it when you sign up, and it'll add the box program coupon, and then it'll go out and just check to see how many boxes you've subscribed to this is something that it does regularly. So once you put this in on your account, as long as you're subscribing to the box program, you don't have to go back and put the coupon in again. It just always goes out and checks, and then it adds to your subscription. So it's kind of a nice feature that they've built in. But if you go into Quilt Planner and then click Create Project, then you can go find Berry Bramble here. So scroll down, it's on the first page, or you can just use the search and search for Berry Bramble. But we have it in all the different sizes here. So you can actually click on it, and then you can create a project here just by testing out fabrics. So if I click, let's see, create a project, and then I just give it a name here. I'll just show you really quick how easy it is to click and check for your to click and add fabrics to this. So you just open the file, click on an area, move down here to edit, and then you can go in and you can choose whatever collection you want from the filters. So we're just gonna go, well, we'll just work with the one that's loaded. So it's a sneak peek of one of our brand new fabric collections that's coming this September. But you can see this area is highlighted. I can just click a fabric and it adds it right into the project. So this is a great way for those of you who are doing your own colorways to come in and audition fabrics for your project before you do it. So I'm not going to go through that any more detail than that today, but I just wanted to let everybody know how they could set up their Quiltster accounts, how they could access the project, and what they could do with that in order to use that subscription to the best of their ability. So with that, I think we're going to switch over to Mom. Say hi, Mom.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
So behind her is a bear panel. So for those of you who have gotten your first quarter box, you probably realized that the biggest project in there was not actually the project you were going to work on today, but it was a panel project with a bear panel that was provided to us by Riley Blake. So they donated those panels to our box program, and then it's got all of the fabrics in it to make the bear panel along with the bear panel pattern. We are going to do a demo on this, but I don't know if it will get filmed until May, only because we are only here for another couple weeks, and then we have to go out on the road for several shows and events. And it'll be difficult for Judy and I to be in the same place at the same time for enough time to film and prepare for that video. So please be patient with us on that. We will do our best to get to the bear video when we can. But you're certainly welcome to move forward with it as well. I will say, please go check for corrections on that one. We have some corrections posted, and the box patterns will need them. There's a correction sheet for the newsprint inside, and there's a correction sheet for the patterns on the outside. We're sorry that there's corrections on this in the way that there is. We had a lot of shuffling of responsibilities at the time. People picked up for others because I had to be out of town. We're training new employees, and we tried to get this one set up as good as we could, and it wasn't our very best effort to start, but I think we've caught all of the little issues that we had with it.
And it's partially my fault. Judelle said, do you guys have this all tested? And I said, well, Bradley said there weren't any mistakes. And so she sent it to print. But we did find a whole bunch of little labeling issues on the papers. But that's all in your box, and there's, it looks like there's a lot, but it's really not a big deal if you just look at it, because it's like one of them has the wrong number on it, and it's pretty simple to see what you're doing with them. What we did, we just didn't get the proofing done. So
it to our normal level of proofing, I would say.
yeah.
So we left people who don't normally do the proofing to do those steps this time around, and although they did a lot of good proofing, we didn't quite catch all of the things that we had hoped to. So regardless of that, it's still an awesome project, and we were super excited to give it to you guys. So,
And it's very easy to make.
yeah,
It actually goes together really good.
So the next thing we're gonna do, I guess, Mom, is open the box.
Okay, well, let's open the box. All right, so in this box that we're working with today, it looks like we have a strip set.
And I will say on the strip set, that only comes if you order all 4 quarters.
Yeah.
And there's also, these came out in November, and we realized that one of the strips got put into the set incorrectly back in, well, this happened in Indonesia, so
Right there.
the person who was choosing this or pulling the strip fabrics grabbed the fabric that was basically next to the one that it should have, and they look kind of similar but not quite, and so we had to replace that. But we work with a super awesome group in Indonesia and also Timeless Treasures, and we have actually made it possible to fix all of the strip sets. So there's a little package in your boxes that has the fix strip.
Yep. And you'll be able to see it because it's a green one.
It's a bright green.
Inside the brown group. And it just got, the numbers were the same other than the color.
Yeah. So take the bright green one out, insert the new one.
Yeah.
And you'll have your strips in all of the right orders. We have 20 some patterns that work with our Quiltworx strip sets, and they are a little unique in that we've gone through the effort to specifically pick all of the fabrics in there and organize them from light to dark into 6 different color groups. So there's information in the little Get to Know Us booklet that's in there. Not the booklet. Find the booklet.
The booklet is right here.
There you go. And towards the back of it somewhere, there's information on what types of patterns use some of, there we go, right there.
Right there.
Yeah, it
Those are
shows you
some-
which
just some of them.
patterns of ours have featured the strip sets this quarter. So if you're wondering what to do with them, those might be some options for you, is to look at those patterns that are included there. So, all right, so continue showing them.
Well, so the other thing in that booklet is some coupons from the different, some of our different certified shops, and there's some coupons for some of our certified instructors. So for those of you that are always asking, well, who are your certified instructors? One of the things you might go through here and look for is, you know, there's a few of them that are actually doing workshops, and they have some information about themselves and some coupons. All right.
That's
so
also where you can find the Quiltster coupon, and there's also in there 2 other coupons. There's a coupon for Quiltworx for a 25% off a kit in the marketplace, and one for 25% off a pattern on the Quiltworx website. So, so check for those, because those are only good for each of the quarters that the boxes are good. So.
And then there's a little advertising thing here that tells you what the quarter boxes are and the back side.
It also tells you when the classes are.
Oh,
and
it also
has the
does.
dates.
Yeah, so keep that, paste that on your box or something for your classes. And then there's a picture of your quilt that that we're doing today, and it has a fabric list on the back. And then we have some information on some little freebies here that we use all the time for attaching our bobbins to our thread when you have to have special bobbin. And so there's information on that. We gave you a couple refills for your glue pins. We gave you a Yoo-hoo stick, and this is just fabric, paper fabric glue. And I used this for 30 years before we started using the glue pins. So I'm going to show you a couple things I do with it today. And then we have a little card here. And the quilt was designed by Bradley and I. And the cards were made by Cindy McCracken, and she is actually an employee of ours. And so she had a bunch of these little cards made. Then you're going to find the project that we're working on today. All right. And then underneath there, this little freebie project.
Little.
There's a lot in there, and the pattern is basically what it is it's instructions on an adjustable size pattern. So basically you with the small one, and then you can do a medium sized one and you have to add some elements to it, and then you do the big one and you have to add the elements to that. Or you can start with the big and you can drop to go down, either way, but it tells you which sizes you have to have there. And there are some corrections, so make sure that go out there, because apparently I made some mistakes and then we didn't get our proofing done on our papers, but that's a pretty easy fix. Just make sure you fix those papers before you cut them apart, and then you'll have all the right information on them. And that's what's in our box. And then you got this really pretty box, and there's a warning on there. So you'll have to read the warning, okay? All right. So there we go. We're going to put everything back inside our box today.
So just so everybody knows, each quarter this year is going to include another panel that is donated to the box program by one of the other fabric companies, and a new panel border design and all the fabrics you need to make those. So that was not a one-time gift. That is coming in all 4 boxes this year. The retail price on that bare panel with the pattern and the panel and the border is like $169.
Yes.
The box only cost $160. So just for those of you who are wondering if those donations were a good deal this year.
They were.
They were.
Yeah.
So we work with some awesome people in the industry, and we're very thankful for the continued support that we get from all of the fabric companies.
The other thing that I will tell you about these panels is because they are adjustable, the borders are adjustable, you can actually pick any panel you want, and right. You can purchase the pattern. And they did, I think they have been published now. Did they go not go out for publication?
Yes, everything has been published.
Okay.
And if you, for some reason, feel like you lost your corrections, you can go out to the Alpine Tracks border pattern page on our website, and you can find more. You can find the corrections that you need. So make sure to go out there and check if you don't have what you think you need. So. Okay.
All right. So we're gonna get started on berry brambles, and so last night, Judel's going to go over what's inside the
introduction booklet.
But I'm going to get started, and then we'll take a break and let her go through the introduction booklet. But in your package, there is your introduction booklet, and you don't want to lose your introduction booklet. Just put a note on it that says, "Don't lose," because you need this until you are done. And that means if you're doing king size, that's next January. So don't lose the introduction booklet, okay? And Judel will go through it and explain what it is for those of you that don't look at it and go, what is all this information? And she'll go through that, all right? So then we're going to get started on the project here. And while I'm working on some of this stuff, Judel's going to go through that other. So let's open up the pattern. I already went through and cut some of the foundation papers and the templates out. And the reason I did that is because there's just not enough time to get some of this. And there were a lot of pieces on this for this pattern.
And maybe before you get started on that, Mom, we should go over quick. There are 2 corrections that we found on this little booklet. So I'll give you those right now. So so the first one is on page 2, and the graphic for step 4 in the right column and then step 6, those graphics accidentally got switched. So the one under step 4 goes with step 6, and the one under
on page 2?
Yeah. Step 6 goes with step 4.
Oh, so this is actually step 4?
Yeah.
Or it's not the information, it's the graphic.
It's the graphics. All the information is correct.
So this graphic goes up here, and this graphic goes down here.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So then the other correction is on page 3, and it's under fabric AT5, and it's in the note. And the note should say cut 1 2.5-inch strip from fabrics AT5A and 1 from AT5B.
It's on page
3.
3. And where's it at?
Fabric AT5.
Yeah.
Then in the note, it should say cut 1 2.5-inch strip from fabric AT5A and 1 from AT5B.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so those are the 2 corrections that we found. So now let's switch back and you can finish or continue on.
So is it all the graphics?
It's just the graphics where we lay the templates on and cut between the templates.
Okay.
The graphic under the next step is correct.
Okay. So are the numbers on it wrong?
No, everything is correct. The 2 graphics just
okay.
got put in the wrong spot.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. So it's just the strip one.
Yeah.
And the numbers are correct.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the first thing we're going to go over is on page 1. It's going to tell you right at the beginning that you need 2 bags, okay? So you want to have a bag 1 and a bag 2. And it has the bag number AT-1 and AT-2. So just to go over what that is we have like 35 of these elements that fit within our mixers for the star units that we're making. And so we have too many designed, and so we're having to go into the patterns and now our numbers, instead of A block, B block, C block, D block, we're having to have an AA, an AB, an AC, and so we're starting to add the other 2 letters with it, because we only have 26 letters, and we're going to just keep designing these star blocks. So the one that's behind it, that's just your bag number. So if you guys just want to write bag 1 and bag 2, that works just fine. All right, it's easier to read. So we're also going to look at the foundation sheets. So you basically should have 2 pages with 1123, that's a newsprint. And for those of you that are new, if there's something wrong with if you're missing one of those newsprints, you need to let us know. We haven't found any yet that we were missing on our patterns, but on occasion something happens. So anyway, look at your newsprint, and then there's an NP 1124, and you only need one of those, and then there's a TP sheet 957. And some people ask me, well, what's the difference between NP and TP? It's just a way for us to identify that the templates are on one page and the newsprint's on another page. However, sometimes we have to put templates and newsprints or our foundation sheets on the same page. So don't let it confuse you there. It's just an inventory number that we work with, all right? And if you guys make a mistake, a cutting mistake, or something happens, when you come back and you say, I didn't get this, or I'm missing this template, you can come back to these pages and find where that template was supposed to be, and you can give us that page number, and then we know exactly where we got to go to print that up for you and ship that out. We're not going to pull that sheet out of another pattern, because now that makes the other pattern, but we can actually print those sheets here in the office. We don't do a lot of that type of printing, but we can in order to get you what you need if you lose something or cut something up incorrectly. All right. So this pattern, the name, we called it the Birch tree, and it was really designed for as a way for us to do some patterns that have to do with different types of trees that we have here in Montana. And honestly, I have to say, when we first designed it, I looked at it and I'm like, that's really ugly. I don't like that. But once we put it into Quiltster and we started playing with the color and what you can do with it and how we place the coloring on it, it has turned into a really awesome block unit that we're able to use, and we've used it in a couple pattern publications already, and I know we're going to continue to use it in other publications. So when you see this block element come up, you're going to be able to say, hey, I know how to do that. Those are kind of fun and they look awesome in your quilts. Okay, so the other thing you're going to find on this page is a fabric chart. So you want to go through your fabrics. And for some reason, I forgot the last color on here, but go through your fabrics and get you a small swatch off the ends of your fabric. I usually go down the selvage and cut it off and set up your fabric chart right here. And this is one of those blocks that fabric chart's going to pay off, as well as we're going to put swatches onto our foundation papers, because we're using a couple different colors here, and so having these swatches on here really helps keep things in order for us. And so I just cut all my swatches right down the selvage, and then I just went through and we went and pasted everything on here in the order that they're supposed to go to. All right, and so we're going to, I have that done, and then we're going to go over to the next page. Now, I didn't do it on this page, but I have a lot of my beginners will come through, and when I'm teaching a class, and if they're brand new at it, I actually have them come over here and I find fabric AT1. Well, in your booklet, you have to keep switching back to find what AT1 is. And so what I would do is actually come in here and take those two little swatches and I put them right along that information there. Okay, fabric AT2, I would have the fabric swatches here. One of the nice things about that is when you're using multiple colors, you can put the multiple swatches right there. And now when you're starting to cut, it's right in front of you what that fabric color is that you're supposed to be working with. Okay, so Judah went over the corrections. So the first thing we're going to do is go through some of the cutting here. I have done a little bit of pre-cutting already, but I'm going to go through what I have done. Okay, and then there's a short section here. And when you guys, if you're new to foundation paper piecing, the instructions that you're reading here are the same instructions that we have in all of our patterns. All we do is just switch out the templates or the graphics there, but the concept and the steps that we work with are pretty much all the same in every single pattern that we write as far as the steps for foundation paper piecing. The reason why is because the steps never change. The process never changes. We work with templates and we just start from sections 1 and work all the way up. So the only thing that really changes between one block group and another block group is the size of the templates and the size of the foundation sheet, but the process never changes. All right. On the back of your pattern, there's some, right here at the very top, it tells you what your pattern number is. It should have a full block layout on the back of it. It has some stuff about Quiltster. It has copyright dates and things like that. And then there's another section on the back of this one that talks about what's next. Okay, so this particular block pattern can be used, the block design that we're working with, which is a diamond star, can be used in about 7 different mixer groups that we have. And so it's very widely used. And so basically after you make this, you're just going to leave it until you figure out, until you get to the next group. You're not going to sew all of your blocks and sew it into the star that it shows there. You want to just leave, all you do is just finish the star, and then you set them aside and you wait until you get ready to do the next one. The reason why is because we design all of our layouts to avoid as Y seams if possible. Now we do have a few mixer groups that do have Y seams in it because of the way they're designed, but this particular mixer group that we're working with, there are no Y seams in it. So anyway, don't sew those stars together looking like the big picture on the back. Those, you just want to leave them apart until you're ready to assemble. Okay, and all of your assembly instructions are actually in that introduction booklet, and there's some newsprint in there that shows you step by step on how you have to assemble, and that's why you don't want to lose that booklet. All right, so let's start here, and I'm going to go through the fabric first. So when you get your fabric out of your bag, it has labels on it, and you're going to do exactly what it tells you on that label. So this particular color, which is my red, this is ATA and ATB. So if you look under, this one only has, oh, there's the other color. I didn't pick them both up. So there's an ATA and an ATB. So what that means is A is a color group, B is a color group. So everything with the letter A on it is going to go towards one color group, and everything with the color B goes to the other color group. So as we're making these, we're going to do 4 units that are an A color group, and we're doing 4 units as a B color group. Now, each of you have some different colorways, so you need to look at that to see how many different colorways you have with your quilt pattern.
And I will say, just to add to that, this is the only chapter for the large box where everyone kind of has a different color layout for each of the different colorways. All of the rest of them just follow straight through the instruction booklet and the patterns. But in this one,
you're going to work with those two colorways.
You want to pay attention to your A's and your B's and make sure all your A fabrics are sewn together and all your B fabrics are sewn together.
Okay, so on my fabric, there's a label that says to cut 2 3-inch strips and 1 2.5-inch strip. Okay, so I actually went through, and when we stack for multiple color groups, we always put A on top and B on the bottom, because you don't get a separate template for everything, because that's going to give you twice as much work. So look here how I have these stacked. I have 2 of my A's and then my 2 B groups. On this one, this is my 2.5-inch strip, and I have my A on top and my B on the bottom. Okay, and that is for, and then when you look at that says color number 5, so that's going on the bottom of my pile, and these are my color number 1. All right, and then we go to the next one. And again, this one says we have A on top, B on the bottom. It says 2 6.5-inch strips, and to cut 2 6.5-inch strips, which is what I did here. And then on here, what you're going to find after you cut those 2 6.5-inch strips, there's some little notes on this fabric, and it says AT2A. So we're going to come down here to AT2A in our booklet, or it's on page 2, and we're going to look at that Quiltster app note, and it tells you that if you cut the 6.5-inch strips, which that's what comes on a Quiltster, that you need to do a subcut on that, all right? And it tells you how many strips you have to cut there, all right? If you're using one colorway, you don't have those extra cuts, all right? Using more than one fabric, so Judelle also has that down below, and that's the one you guys are going to actually pay attention to, because you are using more than you're using more than one fabric. So you're going to read both those notes, and then it's going to come down and tell you how many pieces were cut. So basically, if you do the cut the way it talks about in that note, then most of your cutting, the cutting is ready for you, all right? So on this one, I started out with the 6.5-inch strips, and then it told me to come in here, and I had to cut 1 or 2 6.5. Oh no, that's the wrong one. It says here that I have to have 2 2.5-inch strips from each color, okay? And then we have 1 2-inch strip and 1 2-inch strip, which that's gonna, by the time we're done, that's gonna give me 4 and 4, which totals 8. And then this is gonna give me 4. I'm gonna end up with 4 here as well. So I'm not gonna get into the instructions on that for you. You guys have to read it and just follow it because it is correct how it's cut, all right? So then we're gonna go to the next one, which is fabric A2 or A23. And again, there's a Quiltster note. There's a note there about using more than one fabric. And this is my colorways here. And I cut according to this one, the way it told me to cut, all right? And then we have fabric AT4. I keep wanting to call that A2, but it's AT4. And if you're using this colorway, I don't know what the other colorways are, but the 2 colors here, one of these is your A fabric goes with your red group, and your B fabric goes with the pink. And when you start cutting those apart,
They're really close.
they're very, very close, okay? So make sure that you have them stacked in the right order so that when you start your sewing, they land on the right pieces, okay? So you're gonna go through that cutting, and I just put a little note on it, and I said, this one's my red, and this one's my pink, all right, for my background. So, and we already cut the fabrics for the 5 AT5 because that was part of this very first group there, all right? So
if you bought a pre-cut kit, all of that cutting will be done already except for the sub-cutting.
yes.
You'll just have to do a little bit of sub-cutting, but a bunch of that cutting is mostly done for you.
All right, so then the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to show you. So I set these pieces together already. I put them on a light table, and I can see exactly how they're going to match, right? And then I take my Yoo-hoo stick, and I come in here, and I put Yoo-hoo glue on the paper where there's no printed foundation papers with this on my light table. I can see exactly, it's perfectly stacked, so I do not have to worry about anything moving as I start to cut, all right? And I'm just going to reinforce this glue. Do not use your repositionable glue on this. The reason why is because as you move your sheets around and try to get them in line, that repositionable glue moves onto the back of your foundation papers, and then it becomes a mess, all right? So you want to use a glue that's going to dry for you, like that. And you can take this and you can run it right along the edges as well, just like that, and that'll hold that, okay? So the other thing you can do with this glue, and some of you will think I'm crazy, but I do this all the time, and I have Clorox wipes with me or alcohol wipes, and it doesn't look like I have any in here, so I actually will take this and I'll put this on my light table and I'll look at it and I'll put glue on the very bottom sheet like this, okay? And I just put a little bit of glue. And then I flip this over on my cutting board. and I glue it down to my cutting board like this. I probably don't have very much, I don't have very much on there, so it's not going to hold very well for me today because I don't have any alcohol. After I get through cutting these out, then I just take my alcohol wipes and I just wipe it all off. It's nice and clean again, all right? So once I get this on here and I have everything labeled, I can actually, layered properly, not labeled, I can actually start cutting them all out. And I can usually get 4 layers at a time. The other thing I wanted to do before I cut these apart, because the A unit and the B unit are so close. It's actually an A1 unit and an A2 unit. So they're really, really close. So, and I have 2 colorways. And so I wanted to set these up so that I could see where my colors went, so I didn't get things mixed up in the stacking process. So that's why I went through and put all of my colors in here. And then I just followed my sheet and my numbers on my papers and did those little swatches. So now we're going to come in here and I'm going to cut each one of these about 1/8 of an inch outside that line. Okay. And I'm going to do all my inside cutting first, okay? And then we're going to cut in between here. And I know some people swear they have to use a rotary cutter that's old to cut all their paper. I've been cutting my paper with new blades because I use the same blade. I'm cutting through paper and I'm working with paper the whole time you're doing paper piecing. And I find that the fabric dulls my blades just as fast as worse than my paper. So it's not a big deal for me. So if you're worried about me dulling my blade, don't worry about it today. And we're just going to keep this going.
And today we're only making 8 units, but we have some patterns where you could make, depending on how you laid it out, you could make 48 of these. So if you used this stacking process and cut them in multiple sheets like this, it could really save you a lot of time for cutting.
So notice that I'm cutting through the ones that are in the center first, because I have the outside of my sheet glued down to the board. And there's no glue on the back of the papers, the foundation units. So this is going to be here. Now I stapled these together, and I had to do that because I had to fold them back up and I didn't want them to move. But when you work with the glue, you don't have to staple your papers together. So this one's going to go here. When you're putting those fabric swatches on, you really only need the fabric swatches on the top sheets. So this one is an A2 group. Now we're just going to take this . The other thing I like about that is I don't end up with near the paper all over my table. And this I didn't get enough glue on it, so we're just going to cut these out here. And I know some of you like to leave a lot more paper around, but when you're working with pre-cut templates, you really need to get as much of that excess paper off as possible, because you're going to be using the edges of your paper as a guide on where your fabrics are going to lay underneath the paper, in the steps of foundation paper piecing when we start stacking. So this is really a time-saving, let's see, that's an A21 process right here. Saves you lots and lots of time. All right, I cut a couple of them out last night. What we're going to do is we're going to take, and we're going to work on unit A1 today. So this is a unit A1 here. And then we have our unit A1s. It's A1, A1, and then we're going to put all of our A2 units inside the bag, and I'll finish those up another day. We probably should just set them with this. And I like to put paper clips to hold those papers together. All right. So on this one, because of the way our fabrics are going to be stacked, we're actually going to take one each. We're going to remove the staples that I have in it. I don't think that one has one. This one has one. And when you remove your staples, make sure that you get them off of your table. Okay. And then we're going to take and we're going to stack this, and we're going to, my A color is my first group, and then the pink is my second group. All right. So before I do anything else, I'm going to actually number my papers. This is going to be A1.
You want, actually, wouldn't you want 4? And
Now
then
the way
4?
it's cut, you have 2 colors of each. Is the way the fabric is cut. So then we're going to have another one that's going to say A1. And actually this color is going to be my A2 paper, right? And I thought I had, I must have left them at home. So you could also put a little swatch on this too. Don't put swatches on the whole thing, just one swatch. But this is my A color. This is a B color, so this is going to be B3. And the reason we're going the numbers is because I'm going to have 8 numbers here, and each one of them is going to have either be for the B color or this one's going to be B4. Okay, and then we're going to be back to the A color. So this one's going to be A5, and this one is A6. And this one is going to be B7 and B8. And it will really help you if you put just a little swatch on the very last section, which is your star. So I could put a red one here, a pink here, red, pink, red, pink. And it just helps you keep them all in order. But we're going to use those numbers in the paper piecing process, okay?
So
when I cut this out last night, or stacked it, I realized that when I put my templates on, I'm going to have 2 reds, and then underneath it I'm going to have the 2 pink group, and then I'm going to have 2 reds, and so it's going to go all the way down like that.
There might be a note somewhere in there on the stacking that they have to restack it in the color order. If there is,
then you can do 4A, and then you can do the 4B underneath it. I'm not going to restack today.
So
right?
just read through your instructions and make sure that you double check that. And the biggest thing is that you want your fabrics in order of A, B,
Yes.
A, B.
yeah, when I was going through it last night, I just like, no, this will work really good. I don't have to do any restacking. So, okay, so now what we have is all of our pieces. Now, I've cut all of the template layout sheets out last night, okay? And then I stacked them in order. So this is my template layout sheet number. I think this is number 1. This one is number 2. Okay. This one is number 3. And I'm just going to double check because I can always mix things up. This one is number 4. This one says 5. This one says 6. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not, and I do want to show you, I will finish this first. 7. This one is 8. This one's 9. This is 10. 11. This one is 12. This one is 13. This one is 14. And this one is 15. All right. So everything's in chronological order there. Now we're going to go to our instructions and we're going to find everything is stacked in order here. Okay. So the very first color it tells me is fabric AT1 uses template layout sheet number 1. All right. So I'm going to take the first template layout sheet and I'm just going to click it onto that stack. All right. Fabric AT2 uses template layout sheet number 2 through 9. So we're going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And those go with all of these pieces right here. So that's my next fabric, okay? And we'll have to sort through those in just a little bit. The very first one says, for my 2.5 inch strips, it tells me I want to put template layout sheet number 2 and 3 on there, okay? So these are going to get stacked onto that one. Okay. And then we go up here and it tells me I need template layout sheet number 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's supposed to be template layout sheet number 4 and 5, right?
If you're, yeah, is that the correction?
Yeah. 4 and 5. Okay. Because remember she said those were backwards there. So I do want to show you something. I like to take a highlight pencil and I read my template and I put a highlight the template number. And that's the only part I highlight because then when I look at it, my eye goes to the template number rather than the unit number, all right? So I like to highlight those. These are going to go with the first 4 stacks right here. So these go with this. And then the next stack uses 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, and then we're going to go to fabric 3, and fabric 3 uses template layout sheet number 10 and 11. Hey! Mavericks.
Mav's on the floor, everybody.
All right. And then we're going to go to fabric AT4. And AT4 uses template layout sheet number 12 and number 13. Okay, and then we're going to go to fabric AT5, and it uses template layout sheet number 14 and 15. I like to do this when I'm cutting out all of my patterns, because then I know that I have the right number template layout sheets with the right fabrics. And if I make a mistake and I get to my last piece and something's wrong there, then I still have the ability to go back there and double check and make sure all of the right layout sheets are with the fabric it needs to be. It really prevents me from making a lot of mistakes in cutting. All right, so now we're ready to start our cutting. And we're going to come over here, and we're going to put our cutting instructions in front of us. And I'm going to move these out of the way for now. I'm actually just going to slip them in this bag for now. And we're going to start with the very first one. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to open up our fabric here like this, and we're going to stack the bee color on the bottom. And I'm going to move the little label down here. And then we're going to stack the A fabric on top of that. And I like to watch my salvages, because if I keep all of my salvages matched up, then I don't lose as much fabric when I go to clean those off at the end. And I like to get rid of the salvage before I start cutting. All right, so we're going to open up the template, and the first thing I'm going to do is grab a little ruler here, and we're going to cut some salvage off. Okay, so right there is where all my little swatches are. Okay, so I can just continue cutting, and I can put those right like that. Now we're going to take our template before we fix that, and we're going to look at that and say it goes right over the top of where all of this fold is. So I'm going to grab my acorn glue starch here, and we're just going to open up each one of these, and we're going to put some starch right on that fold, and now it lays perfectly flat for me. I don't have to take it to the iron. I just have to put a little bit of this right on the folds to flatten it. This is my favorite part of my acorn glue pen right here, because it saves me a lot of time pressing. Okay, now we're going to just take this piece, and I don't have to trim everything down to fit the template. I just need to make sure the template fits. And because I have lots of excess, I'm just going to cut the excess off, and we're going to put it in a stack, and it still has my fabric numbers on it. Okay, and then we're going to take this piece, and we're going to put pin clips on it. Remember, I have 2 reds and 2 pinks. Now, there's a cut line on here, and that cut line goes all the way down like that. I'm not going to cut it at this point. I'm going to wait until I'm ready to put that piece on, because it's such a long piece. I'm not going to glue it on there yet. I'm going to wait and put the repositionable glue on right before I use it, because if I cut it now, then the glue, if it gets put back in the bag, the glue starts drying on there, and I prefer to just wait and do it right before I'm ready to sew them together, especially when we're working with these really long pieces. Now it's going to tell me here that this piece goes, what bag it goes in, and it goes in my bag AT1. So we're in here with this bag right here. And of course it fell out, there we go. Now we're going to start with this one. And I already have the templates attached to my fabrics. My fabrics are stacked. And we're going to put the bee color on the bottom. Move the label down to the end. And I'm going to look at the picture, and it looks like on these we're going to basically cut right in the middle, so I probably won't have to put any starch on that center. We'll see where the pieces come in, and then we'll take this and put it down there. Okay, so we're going to cut this off right here. I'm going to cut the white off, and then I'm going to cut all the little holes from the salvage. And there's my next color right there. And underneath there, realize that I have both colors there for me. Right? Now we're going to look at this picture, and it tells me on the first half I want template layout sheet number 2, which is right here. So I'm actually going to take that, and I'm going to put a paper clip here and a paper clip here. Okay. And then I'm going to cut it. And it looks like I am going to have to straighten this out, so let's go ahead and put our starch on there. And then we're going to put the next piece on here like this. And we're going to cut at this end right here. Okay. And then I'm going to put a paper clip here and a paper clip here. Now we're going to start with the paper piecing on this unit. So we're going to go ahead at this point and we're going to cut on line 1 right here. Now, I didn't need to use glue because I have that. So then these pieces, that just flips around like that. And then this piece here flips around like this. Okay. And this is my section 1 piece, and this one is my section 1 piece, and this one's on AT1 or AT2 bag. Right, so that, and if you read your templates here where it says AT2, that's going to tell you right there without having to read through here that that's going to go into bag AT, the number 2 bag, because this is my AT2 fabric. So we're going to just put that one in there, and we're going to leave these, and I'm going to cut those angles because I like to have my angles pre-cut. And we're going to put that there. So I do want to show you, if it tells you to do the restacking on there, to resort, you can at this point just open these up, and I could just take this and put my orange on the top and my purple on the bottom. It's that simple to restack, okay? But I actually set mine up the other way, so that way I don't have to do the restack on it. And I'm gonna do set it up to do only 4 papers. So I'm gonna leave these in groups of 4. All right, so we're gonna set those right there. Now we're gonna come to the next stack. And this is unit AT. This is template layout sheet number 4 and number 5. And when you look at that correction there, it tells you the right template layout sheets to go on the fabric. It's just that those graphics got in the wrong place. So we're going to open this up. And we're going to start purple on the bottom. Okay, so while I continue with the cutting on these, I'm gonna have Judelle go over that chapter. You guys she can still leave it on me while you're watching me, but she can go through that other stuff while I actually do the cutting.
Okay, let's see. Okay, we're gonna talk through this introduction booklet here for just a second. So this booklet is important for you. It covers all of the things that we put in a basic pattern. So if you're new to Quiltworx Designs, it's especially nice to read through this because it has definitions, it has supply lists, some general explanations of things that we use a lot as terminology, and you'll want to just kind of read through that to get an idea of how our patterns are set up. Once you get down to, let's see, page, I think that's page 5. Did I count right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, page 5. So once you get to page 5, you hit a section that says, okay, now you're going to take a break from this booklet and go complete each of the booklets that you get as part of your box program. So you may not come back to this booklet for a while after that, but then you get into quilt assembly. And no matter which colorway you're doing or which size you're doing, the quilt assembly steps are basically the same. So we talk through your LP 31 that's in there, and it tells you how far you need to go on each of the assembly steps in order to complete the size quilt you're making. Then it talks about how to expand it for those of you who have bought the king size border. It gives you all the pressing information and arrows on all of those graphics. And then it talks about like I said, just a number of different things, which borders you can use. Sometimes, some of you I know bought some of the smaller sizes because you wanted to add different borders than the ones that we provided. So this goes through some of the other ways that you can expand it and how you can, and the different sizes that you'll end up with as you work through the pattern if you choose to go your own route. We also made a note here that if you're going to do the expansion for 99 inch to 118 inch, so that's to go from the queen to the king, this doesn't happen till Q4, but it just gives you a big note here and says make sure you're using the right yardage table in that book, and here's the one that you need to use. There's also information on quilting designs, binding, how much binding you need for all of the different sizes. There's also how much backing you need for all of the different sizes. And then on, this is page 8, I believe, it has the YouTube video schedule on it. So this is also on that little sheet that's in your boxes. But if you need to reference back to it and you can't find that, you can always come back to the video schedule. We put a new video schedule handout into each of your boxes. So if you lose it, it will be there. And also, we didn't have them quite listed yet, but I will get all of the rest of the video schedules listed as events on our Facebook page so that you can follow those and you'll get a notification when we start running the video live. And if you follow our YouTube channel, you'll do the same thing. So if you go click follow on our YouTube channel, you'll get a notification every time we go live. So then we have some information on where the fabrics go for the entire quilt. So it goes through all of the fabric references and where those actually are used. And then there's yardage tables. And we put yardage tables in this for all of the 4 colorways. Even though the one that's shown on the cover sheet is out of color stock, we included tables for all of the 4 colorways that were included in the box program and for every single size. So you'll see there's a 57-inch square, 68-inch square, and these are the Hoffman batiks. Then there's a 99-inch square and a 118-inch square. And then it goes to, and then we have a page for the Hoffman batiks that breaks it down by booklet. So this is also a table. So if you're looking at your quarter 1, you're going to look here. Quarter 2, you're going to use this table. Quarter 3, you're going to use the group C table. And then for quarter 4, you're going to use group D and also maybe group K if you've chosen to do the king size design. So we have those each broken down, all of the fabric references and all of the cutting information that you will get. There's a little color picture that's also included in each of your boxes. That color picture has all of this same information on it that's on these tables. So we gave it to you in multiple different ways so that you could be sure to find it. So then there's the Island Batik. So then there's Apple Basket. Then there's color stock, and all that same information is provided for each of those. And then if you're doing your own colorway, we provided you blank tables for the A, B, C, D, and K groups and images to show you the breakdown so that you could put little fabric swatches there. You can also do that with, so some of you bought the full kits and you didn't buy it as part of the box program and we shipped the entire project to you. If you did that, this table is also, these 2 pages are also really helpful for you to cut and lay out and label your entire project as well. So you can use it for either of those options. I'll also mention that if you bought it that way and you are having buyer's regret and wish you would have gotten the box program, just give us a call. We have a solution for that. You can just pay the balance of that kit and the box program and you'll get the box program with all of the fun panel giveaways and all of the extra goodies and the coupons and everything each quarter, and you'll just pay the difference between what you paid for the pattern that you bought and for the box. So you can get it both, so you can still purchase that if you guys want to participate in the rest of the box program. And then finally on the back, it just shows you the sizes and the general different layouts and which groups go into each size. So that's what's in the introduction booklet. It's important that you don't lose this booklet between now and the end of the year. I know last year we had to resend this booklet out to a few people because they threw it away because they thought they were done with that section. So keep it. And also, if you keep this booklet, you can buy those mixer chapters again and make a second project. And then you can also just buy replacement newsprint for the different sizes as well. So it's just something to keep in mind. Always keep your pattern elements that are reusable, because we will also sell them to you to make a second sample and just sell you only what you need. So hopefully that makes sense on everything that's in there. I'll also mention on the first page, there's a corrections page. If you scan that QR code, it takes you directly to the page on our website where corrections are listed. And how do you know if you need those corrections? Well, on each quarter, you're gonna get a booklet printout. So like, let's just switch over here to this one for now. And on the back page, there's a little print date on the back of each of those. So if the print date on your booklet, so if there was a correction, this says printed, it's kind of hard to see that, but I think it's saying printed something for 26. So it should have been January of 26, or maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I can't see that date on there. It's not very easy to see. But whatever that date is, then if the correction was before that, so let's say the correction was made in December and it was printed in January, then you know that it's been made in your pattern. So just watch those dates, and that should help you decide if you need the correction or not. So those are the two pieces that were in your pattern this time around, and your cover sheets. So, are you ready, Mom?
No, I have a couple more left here, but if you want, I can talk to them. If you're done.
I'm trying to think if there's anything I should share with them. Actually, there's one thing I can share with you. I'm going to switch over to our website here. I had a couple people ask this morning who were part of the box program where they could find more of our video series. So you can always find them by going to our YouTube channel and clicking on playlists. You can also go up here to events, Quiltworx events, and click on online classes. And we have a list of classes there. There's also a number of both shops and instructors who hold online events, so you'll see them. You'll see those listed here as well. So there might be a class that's offered by someone else, but you can sort by instructor as well. So if you just go to instructor, you can choose Judy or one of the others as well, and then it'll give you her videos. So this one's not posted yet because we're just filming it right now, but just to give you an example, I'm going to click on Pocket Full of Posies here. When you click on that, it gives you some information, and then you can click on the sign up button and it takes you right to our YouTube channel where you get the entire series of classes that are involved in making that quilt. So we have quite the inventory of patterns that have videos on our YouTube channel, so definitely make sure to check those out. If you like this kind of learning format and style where we do it online, and also you can get back to it anytime that you want. You'll probably find that even some of the units and some of our other patterns are covered in different videos, or at least some of the techniques are as well. So that's something to that we definitely think you should look around and explore a little bit. But it's a great way to see what other options we have available as classes.
You want to tell them about Quilt University?
Yeah, so I can also tell you about Quiltworx University. So there's two Quiltworx Universities happening this year. One is in Texas and one is in Montana. And one of the nice things about, let's go back to our website. So you can go under events and you can see them listed here. You'll notice in our little coupon booklet that there is a page that talks about those who are in our box program. Each of these events has like a store with it where you'll be able to shop for Quiltworx related items all week long. And one of the promotions that we have this year offered is if you're coming to a Quiltworx University in Montana, then you get an additional 10% off plus a little free gift if you're a box program subscriber. So for those of you who are box program subscribers and coming to that event, it may be very worth it, depending on how you want to do your shopping while you're there. So definitely check that out. I know the both of them are almost full as far as workshops. I think Texas has only 12 spaces left. It happens in April. So it's coming up pretty quickly here, and but that's 12 spaces out of 80. And at Montana, I think we have 8 spaces left out of 80. So both of those classes are close to capacity, but there's still room. So definitely check it out and see if that's something that you want to attend. They're really fun. They're a full week. Lodging is included. Food is included.
You meet lots of certified instructors.
Yes, we do it in a team teaching format. So we have Judy plus certified instructors from across the country. And they get, and we even have some certified instructors that come and attend as students. We do trunk shows every night. You can have me work with you at the store and I will custom design quilts for you in any of the colorways and the fabrics that you want. And the building that we do it in is just a beautiful, fun atmosphere to be in. We've done it there we've done it 2 times now. Quiltworx University once, and then some training with our instructors twice. And all of those events have just been awesome events to attend. In Texas, it's at Stitch in Heaven, and it's attached to the Stitch in Heaven quilt shop. They have an amazing teaching studio. There's lots of on-site lodging. I don't know what's full and what's not, but they also have a hotel that you can stay at and book like a private room. In both locations, there's options for you to bring spouses, although I think you might need to call us on Montana if you want to do that and see if we can adjust some of the attendance numbers, because we're starting to get down there on that. But it is a super fun experience. If you click on the Quiltworx University Montana button, you can see in there, this is the building that we do it in. It's a huge barn. We hang quilts from the ceiling. There's beautiful views of the mountains, the store. You can see this is some of the trunk show events that we hold each night. There's just lots of really great experiences and like-minded people and fans of Quiltworx to hang out with. They're really inspiring events. So, let's see. Someone said, you know what I think about quilters? We are a special breed of people. Thank you for all you do and for giving us more light. You're welcome, Constantine.
Okay, I just have one more piece to cut, and then we're ready to start doing paper piecing.
Okay.
What time is it?
It is 2:26.
Okay.
So just for everybody's knowledge, we usually do these we run 3-hour classes, so we can go to 4. Sometimes we're done a little bit sooner than that. So
Normally our first class is longer because we try to go through all of the cutting so you can get an idea how to set up and organize.
And also all of the extra box program stuff that we don't cover. We try not to repeat too much of that as we go through these events. I should also, over on Mom's, so it'd be on her right, there's a wedding ring table runner that's hanging there. That is our Q1 small box project. The reason we chose that project is because this year Judy wants to teach people how to do the blocks that are included in our wedding ring and our wedding star series. So Q1 is we are going to teach you how to do the strip piecing on the arcs, And in quarter 2, we're going to teach you how to do the paper piecing on the stars and then do assembly of the different types of blocks. There will be a little assembly in the quarter 1 as well. But if you were ever wanting to get some basics on the wedding star, it is a great experience for you to sit through a class making one of these smaller projects along with her, and then jumping into the bigger project, because that'll give you the basic skill sets you need to make any of our wedding ring or our wedding star quilt projects. So we're super excited to be able to offer that to you. So,
All right. I'm ready to move on. Now we're going to get rid of all of this stuff off my table because I need my room. Okay. Okay, so I do want to go through something here with you. So basically I'm going to just work with 4 sheets. We're not going to get all 4 sheets done, but I actually completed a couple, and I'm going to show you the final assembly on those blocks as well. The other thing I want to bring up is I actually made a cutting mistake here, all right? So I was supposed to cut here and I cut here. So that leaves me with no seam allowance. I have my seam allowance, but I'm really tight fit. I do have some excess here, okay? So what I like to do is, if I know that I've made a mistake on the cutting, I like to just mark the template like this. And I'm not going to be able to do anything with this, so we're just going to throw this away. But if I need some more fabric, which I think I'm going to be able to make it, but if you guys make a cutting mistake, let us know, because we can send you a strip if we have to, because we have lots of this left over in scraps. So if it's only like, you know, 1 piece or something like that, just let us know. We're more than happy to help you out there. As long as it's like you didn't cut the whole pattern wrong, then we're going to have to charge you for it. But if you just cut 1 piece wrong and we have some scraps of it, we'll be happy to send you a new piece in the envelope for it. I think I can make it work, all right? So I'm not going to worry about it right at the moment. I'm not going to cut anything off, anything else, because I think I can actually make that work. Okay. So I know that everything in here goes into bag A. All right, I'm not going to sort through the numbers on this half because I'm only going to do 4 of them. But I am going to grab 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so I have my 4 papers there. We'll put these back in here. Now we're going to look through this, and we want to find and figure out what is the very last section number on our paper. It's section 14. So let's look at where section 14 falls. And why am I not seeing section 14? Did I stuff it in another bag?
I'm not sure you cut it. It's the really long one.
Yeah, I did. I cut it. I think I stuffed it someplace. But it's my last piece, so we're going to start with section 13, and it'll show up. Because I remember it was the very first thing I did. So we're going to start with section 13, right here. There's a sew side right here. And then we're going to find section 12, which is right here, okay? So it's going to go like that. I'm going to line all my sew sides up. This is a section 13, so that's an AT, this is an AT1. I must have put some of those in the wrong bag. So we'll sort through that one. I think that's the only one that I put in the wrong bag. So this is AT1, this is section AT1, and then we're going to go 13, 12, This is 12. Then we're going to find 10. I know it's here somewhere. Section 10, right here is my section 10. And then we're going to go section 9, which is right here. And then we're going to go to section 8. And that is right here. And then we're going to go to section 7, which is right here. And then we're going to go section 6 is here. Section 5. And this one is section 4 right here. And this one says section, did I miss 11? 12? I did, look at that. I missed 11 right there. And then we're at 4. This is my 3. This is 2. And this one is section, this is number 1. There we go. So I actually am missing the very last one. And you guys, I don't know what I did with it, but I know it's in my stack here, because I remember putting the template on it. So we'll find it. But I don't need it for a while. Okay, so these are my extra papers. So I have one, nope, that's what I need here. There we go. So we're organized now. So the very first section that I have is sets right here. Now this is one of those patterns where going to a light table and drawing on the dashed lines might be really, really beneficial, okay? So if I actually have a light table, so let's go ahead and let's plug it in, and I'll show you how I do that. There we go, like that. And then we're going to go like this. So I can take these, I don't have to draw every line on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this line 13. And we're just going to place my ruler on the dashed line. And it doesn't matter what I draw it with. I can use a pen with it. You can use a marker with it if I want. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do line 2, line 5, line 8, line 11. So basically the ones that are on sideways, because all of these will be easy to see because I have the side ones done. So we're going to mark here. And some of you will sit there and go, I'm not going to do this, that's a waste of time. Believe me, this is not a waste of time. This will save me literally probably an hour at least just trying to figure out where my pieces fall, okay? Because everything's going to fall in that middle section there. So we're just going to keep going through. I did one of these just a few minutes ago, right before we started class, and I did not mark my lines. And it took me a lot longer to make that unit because I was constantly having to check to make sure that it was covering. So this one. The only other unit that I really do this with, as far as marking for me, is when I'm working with flying geese. I always mark my lines when I'm working with flying geese. Okay. So again, I'm going to repeat the lines. So we're going to do line 13. That's this really long one. Okay, and then we're going to do lines 2, 5, 8, and 11. And we're marking the dashed line, not the sew line. The dashed line is where your seam allowance, that's the edge of your trim seam allowance. Okay, so we have that done. So we're going to unplug our light and move this out of the way. And then I'm going to put my paper. So this is my number 4. This is number 3. This one is number 2. And this one is number 1. All right. So now we're just going to start, and we're going to begin our paper piecing. I don't need instructions for paper piecing. And you guys, after you do a couple units, you won't need instructions for paper piecing either. So let's take this piece. This is the color I want. I have 2 of these layered and 2 pink underneath there. So I'm going to flip this piece over. This is my very first one. And I'm going to glue it under this section. I'm going to use my repositionable glue there. Now don't butter your paper with this stuff. You only want that repositionable glue right under that section. Okay, so it's just going to fit right here. We're going to flip it over and we're just going to put it right there like that. Just enough to get that to hold. The reason we like the repositionable glue is when we're all done, it comes off, the paper comes off the fabric really nice. And when we use fabric glues and other ones, they have a tendency to tear the paper and you end up with chunks of fabric or glue baked on. And that's one advantage to this, is you don't have to worry about baking that paper and glue together with your iron. We only use the repositionable glue on the very first section. You don't have to use it after the first section because it's of no value to you. It's just to hold the first piece in place. And my repositionable glue needs to be thrown away. It's really getting dry. So we took care of that issue. So there we have everything on now. So now I should have paper number 4 on the top. We're going to keep our templates, because if we make a mistake, we have that template right there where we can actually cut a new piece if we have the fabric. All right, so now we're going to take and put a fold template. And my fold template doesn't cover the whole paper, so I'm going to go to a larger fold template. Now it covers the whole thing. We place it on line 1, okay? So it's right there. We're going to fold this back. And we crease the whole thing, fold it back. Now we're going to take our add a quarter ruler and we're going to trim. Okay, and then we're going to set this to the side, and I like to just crease that a second time. Then we're going to pick the next piece up, place it on the solid line, and add a quarter. And then we're going to move that, and I'm just going to crease that, and we're going to stack it. By stacking it, it keeps all of my numbers in order. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to run you through the first 4 sections, and then we'll stop and we'll show you how to finish it up when we're all done. This is one of those foundation units that you really are better off to keep yourself organized and just take your time working through and get all of your pieces stacked rather than trying to do one unit at a time. Okay, so see how everything is stacked in the same way? So now we're going to find my fabric for section A2, which is supposed to be my orange here. So we have 2 orange and 2 purple here. So we're going to pull this off. And we're going to keep my template. This says my sew side. And we're going to place this piece. And this piece, so because I drew these lines right here, okay, this basically tells me that when I layer that, I need to have fabric on that side of that line and fabric on this side of that line. And I can tell I'm got about a 1/2 inch plus here, and I have about a 3/4 of an inch plus there, more like an inch almost, okay? So then we're going to pick up the next piece. Let's grab my glue pen though, because I'm going to actually glue these together right now because they're going to move on me with this long paper. So I just put that on there and I fold back the fabric along that seam allowance, and that keeps me from getting too much glue where you're going to see all of the glue after you sew your seam. So we can take this. Now you can do it this way before you put the paper on, but when you do it that way, unless you are really careful, you have a tendency to get more glue on it, and then it'll show after you sew. So I'm just going to put it right on the edge, and I don't have to glue everything. Okay, don't run the glue along. All you have to do is just touch it and put little spots. I'm going to hold my finger at that mark, and I'm going to hold my finger at that mark, and I'm going to make sure I have fabric on both ends, just like that. And then we're going to push the glue together, put it in place. We're going to pick up the next piece, and I'm going to put my finger here and finger here. I like to glue after I lay them in place. And I can tell I need a new, it's been too long since we've done this because my glue's all dried out. So we're going to very quickly do a demonstration on how to replace glue. Actually,
someone asked, what is the plastic piece you are using? So it's just a
fold template.
Just a plastic fold template. You can use a thicker piece of, like a thick piece of cardboard paper. You can use
metal. There's a couple of CIs. Tell them about Michelle,
so
and
Michelle Everett sells.
And so does Tracy.
Tracy has some too.
Yeah,
So
Tracy has
Tracy
one too.
Thompson may have some too. I haven't seen hers, but Mom says she has some. So they're metal fold templates, and those ones are really,
really nice.
We have some metal ones too. We just don't sell them because we can't get ourselves organized enough to cut them.
We dream about stuff a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, but those two are much more organized and focused, and they were able to manage to get some out there.
And they're really nice templates. They have them in the 3 sizes for your 6-inch rulers, your 12-inch rulers, and your 20 or your 18-inch rulers. So feel free to go. You won't hurt my feelings if you buy it from somebody else, because I don't have.
You're switching to the machine. And
Yep.
also the other thing is, we have, I was going to say that the next quarter, or for the small box,
Yeah.
this is a secret, but the notion that we're giving them is the fatter 6-inch
ruler?
add a quarter ruler that
Oh.
has the folded edge on it.
Yeah.
So if you're signed up for that box, then you'll get a different notion than the blue this time, because you'll get that little add a quarter ruler and can fold that, and you can use that as a fold template as well. So, all right.
Okay. So I'm going to start, and I want to start before that dashed line along line 13, okay? And we're going to sew on the solid line. I'm going to move my stitch length on this machine. I like to sew at about 1.8 on this little machine. That's going to change on every machine. I just bought 5 new ones, and one of them I'm sewing at 2, and the other one's going way down to about a 1.5. So it really changes between your machines. You just want it to be tight, but if you can't get a needle or a seam ripper underneath it, it's too tight, okay? Because you don't want it to tear your paper, but you need your stitch tight enough that when you remove the paper, it's not going to leave your stitches loose to where you can see and pull them apart and see all the threads, right? So we're going to start sewing, and I went 1 too many there on this one. Okay, now if you have a machine with a thread cutter, I would recommend using that when you're doing the piecing on these, because the papers are so big that it's really hard to cut your thread and pull the threads between them. So I'm going to actually have to lift this up and cut each one individually. Okay, so if you have a thread cutter, that's going to go faster for you with this particular piece of paper, because it's too big to actually keep them all connected and chain piece them. So the other thing that you'll find when you're working with really long papers like that, if you get that stitch length down too much, it's going to start shrinking the length of your paper. So just kind of test it, and when you're done, you want that paper to lay flat. I also would suggest on this particular one, when you're working with really long papers, you're probably going to want to go to a really, really light steam. Don't put too much steam on it. When I'm working with small pieces, I don't care much about it. I use steam all the time. I know some people say don't use steam on papers, but I think I've made enough to be able to feel like I can make my own decision on whether I want to use steam or not. And I do use steam when I do paper piecing. Okay, so we have each one of these done. So this one's going to go on top. Now we're going to go over to the iron, and I don't think you don't need to move it over to the iron, do you?
I have it on there.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we're going to go to the iron, and I'm going to press them in order. So I'm working with a dry iron here. This is an antique iron that somebody gave me. It doesn't shut off, but it gets really, really hot. And there's not a lot of temperature control on it.
You don't want to use it on a wool mat.
Yeah, don't use it on a wool mat. It melts the wool.
Ask us how we know.
If you watched all of our videos, you'd probably find out.
We did it once. And it burned the fabric also. It burned a hole in the fabric, and we had to remake it.
Yep.
And it wasn't an easy one to remake either.
Okay, so now I have my papers here, all right? And what I want to do is start.
Move them towards you a little bit closer, the papers.
Oh, well, I have to fold. Okay.
Okay.
I have to fold back and trim. So we actually want to start with the number 4 paper on the top, okay? And we're going to take this and we're going to find line 2, which is right here. So on this one, I can use a shorter fold template. And then it's going to fold back. And you're going to have to tear the fabric where you stitch through the line, all right? And I'm going to use my smaller add a quarter, the shorter one. And then we're going to fold it up, put it over here. Then we're going to grab the next one, place it on line 2, fold the fabric and the paper back, and then you're going to grab that fabric, hold on to your paper, and just tear. And then just grab your fingers and pull that thread out. Place the add a quarter ruler, and then trim. And that's going to cut your threads off as well. We're going to take the next one. Tear that back, pull my threads out of the way, and now we're going to trim. And now this puts fabric or paper number 1 back on the top. I pull that thread out and trim. Okay, so now we're going to find the next section. And this one is for section 3. This is my background. I have the red fabric is on the top. This is my sew side. And I'm going to line this up so this angle right here is going to match this angle. And I'm going to leave about 1/4 of an inch past this edge of my paper. Remember when I told you to make sure that you trim your papers down? It's because I need to use the edge of that paper right there as a guide when I put this piece on. So we're going to take that and get that on, and then I just fold this back. And I have about 1/4 of an inch extra there. And then back here, I'm not actually, think I'm going to move this a little bit closer like this, because that's where that's going to be, and now we're on right there as well. Okay, so we're going to take the next one, we're going to put that one on, and I'm going to place this right along the edge of that. And we're on there, and then we're going to be right here, and we're on down there. There's not a lot of play room on those, okay? You can see right here that I have a little bit extra here and just a touch extra there, all right? So you got to be a little bit careful about where you position those. Now we're going to take the next piece. That's my pink. And it's going to go right here. And then I'm right here. So I'm on both places. And then we're going to do the next one. Okay, so I didn't do any gluing as I was going there. I'm going to try and see if my glue pin's working. So I can go back now that I have it all stacked, and I can lift each one of these. And all I have to do is just pull the paper back, and I can just put a touch of glue on those. You're going to want to glue these because they're going to move on you with the long paper. And if you have issues, depending on how big your machine is, if it's a really tiny machine, you may run into problems with it bumping there. So I just want to show you one little trick here. I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to show you. So I can take a flower pin, and I can actually open this up, and I can slip a pin right there to hold that piece in place right, like that. So if you're worried about that moving on you, just you can pin those on with your flower pins, all right? Okay, so we're going to go back to the sewing machine. We're going to open up the paper first, and then we're going to roll this under, and make sure you don't flip any of your threads or your fabric underneath that. And I'm good. And I'm sewing on line 2. And then we're going to take the next one. Okay, we're going to go to the iron and we're going to press. We start with the paper number 1 on the top. There's paper number 2. Paper number 3. Paper number 4. Okay. Okay, so you're going to do 1, 2, and then a side piece, and then you're going to come back here. So we're going to start, and we have 4 on the bottom. So that was line 2. So line 3 goes this direction for me now. So it's going to keep switching back and forth. So we're going to go to our big fold template. We're going to bring the fabric with it, and then you're going to tear that back, put the add a quarter ruler, and trim. We're going to right here. And when you guys are watching this video and I'm doing all of this stuff, if you really want to go fast with it, just increase the speed and you can really get through the paper piecing fast that way. We're going to go like this. And then right, so now we're going to start with the next color here. And I'm just going to look at it. It should be one of my lighter oranges or red colors here, which it is. And that's going to go underneath there. So I've got this line that I'm following and this one. So all I have to do is just place this right along that edge. That's my sew side. And make sure I have fabric on both sides of those 2 lines. We're going to take this one, that one's on. Then we're going to take this. And then I'm just going to grab my glue pen, fold back my fabric, and glue the long edges together. Okay. and we're ready to sew again. So let's go ahead and we'll sew these, and then we're going to move on and show you how to finish this up. Right, so we'll get these pieces sewn on. And I don't know if I mentioned, but when you get to the end of your sew line, go about 3 stitches past that dashed line. That way when you fold back to trim, it's going to cut all of your threads and you won't have any threads tied on the back of your paper. If you stop sewing before the dashed line, all of your threads will stay attached to your paper. All right, so we're going to just continue up until we get all of those pieces on. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all of this. And I remember that I did put that first section apart. Remember I said right at the very beginning that I wasn't going to cut them apart until I was ready for them.
Yes.
So I thought I had a big binder clip, but I must have taken them. So we're just gonna, right here. There's a great big binder clip. I can actually just take that and clip these all in order. Fold this back. And then we're gonna slip these in here. And there's my big centerpiece the last one. So then we're going to take these, and I'm just going to put a binder clip on this group here. And I'm going to take this piece, because that's supposed to go in this bag, and put it in this bag right here. I get a feeling I have another one of those in this bag as well. Okay. So when you guys lose pieces, normally the reason you lose them is because you pick them up and put them in the wrong bag. So just stop, and if you've lost a piece, go through some of the other bags that, like when you have to split 2 pieces from a layout sheet and half of them go in one bag and the other half go in the other bag, go find that other bag. It's probably the piece you're missing is in that other bag. So, all right, so let's take this piece off the wall. Here, and I made my A2. This is the unit 2, and this is unit 1. So this piece only goes down on unit 1. We're not joining. We're not putting this on both pieces. The way this was designed, it was designed so when it's sewn together, this still falls right in the middle because there's a little bit of a slant there. And you are going to join these 2 pieces. So we're going to take this and we're going to find our long fold template. And we're going to have to work our way down on our papers. And I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to fold it and I'm going to tear the first one and loosen those threads right there. Okay. Then we're going to go to the next line. And we're going to tear that back and loosen the threads. Then you're going to go to the next one and tear that back, loosen the threads. Going to go to the next one, tear that. Don't worry about tearing little holes in all of that. It's not going to make any difference. And then we're going to do the next one. And as you get up to these little tiny ones, you're going to probably find that the paper's going to start ripping on you, even though you don't want it to. You're just going to have to deal with the fact that it's going to rip. It's not going to stop you from finishing it. All right, and then this one's going to keep going. All right, so now my ruler's going to move a little bit for me on that. So sometimes I'll actually just take my glue pen to keep that ruler from moving right along these really thin points. And I'll just take a little bit of this right on the point and fold that back on my ruler. And now I'm going to be able to get that trimmed properly, and I don't have to worry about the ruler twisting on me. Okay, now we're going to take our long, add a quarter, and I'm going to hold this in position up here, and I'm going to push it in position down here so it's tight against the ruler, and then we're going to trim. Get all of that junk off of there. And now I'm just going to loosen this up a little bit here. So if you do that little trick, you got to work fast with it so that, this glue is a little bit easier glue to work with because it doesn't dry as hard as your Yoo-hoo. Don't use your repositionable glue on something like that because you have to sew on that line. And if you have repositionable glue there, once the feed dogs hit that, it's just going to stop sewing. All right. So if you're working with repositionable glue and you start getting a buildup on the back of your pressure foot here, look at the back. See, I've got a buildup there. I just need to take my wipes and wipe that off. And I don't know why I don't have any sitting down here, but just get that cleaned off and then start feeding through again for you. The other place you're going to have to keep clean is in front of your pressure foot along where your plate is there. All right, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to position it. And I need to pull it up. Don't line it up with this point right here of the fabric. You need to find how far up it's going to go here at the top.
I have a quick question. Is
Okay.
that template, is that piece supposed to be cut down the center technically with the template?
Yes, I think it is supposed to be cut down this template. I just did this with a strip, but it's going to do the same way. All right. So this is,
just demoing.
yeah. I just cut a strip of fabric, but there's an actual cut on that, right? And I'll show you what she's talking about, in case you're wondering.
Your piece, when you do it, will be cut down the strip at a...
See how much longer that is? I just found a strip of fabric that fit, but yours comes all the way down like that. So mine's going to be really tight fitting up here for me, but anyway,
just demoing.
I'm just demoing, all right? And you're going to have that. You have a sew side and everything that you're supposed to work with, and you're going to have a lot more playroom than I have. So I'm going to, after I get that on, I'm going to grab a couple flower pins and I'm going to glue this edge, or not glue it, but pin right along this edge. And then I'm going to get this lined up down here and pin along this edge, because that's going to move with all of that sewing on there, and then you're trying to actually sew this really thin piece. Your fabric's going to move on you, okay? So then after you get that pin, just go ahead and put your glue and lift up at each one of those seams. And then you're going to work that glue down that edge. You don't have to run it, don't sit here and butter that edge. All that does is fray your fabric. You just need to touch it and get enough on there that you can get the edges from so that they're secure. And where I put the pin in, I'm a little bit tight there. So I'm going to move that pin and get that on. All right, now remember I'm working with a shorter piece. I'm going to put this pin back in here. But you guys are going to have to pay attention to this, because when I lay this down, I need my fabric to stop, to go all the way past that point. Okay, so I'm just going to open this up so you can see what I'm talking about. So there's the bottom of my piece. This is a very common mistake people make, where they don't come in and check that point. They just stop right here and they look, oh, it's on, and then they leave it. And then when they sew it on, they're losing a ½ inch on that point at the bottom. So I can see now that I have plenty of fabric there. So we're going to sew this on. And this is one of those pieces where you want to sew it correctly the first time, because we really don't want to pick this apart. You have a lot of seams that you're going over, so that your pressure foot's going to keep wanting to move on. You're going to want to keep it and hold on to it and go slow enough and keep it straight. So now we're up in the part where my paper was tearing. We want to sew all the way off the end. Just follow that line all the way to the end. And now I'm going to flip this over. And we're going to grab our starch pen. And I'm just going to run it right down that seam there. And you can do this from the front side, or you can flip it over and do it on the back side of the seam. And I'm running out of starch in my pen. Okay, that's pretty much empty. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this to my iron and we're going to press that. And your starch pen will just make that lay down really, really flat. Okay. So now we're going to come back and we're going to glue this. Boy, I did not leave myself much room with that little strip that I worked with. Okay. And you want to trim right on the line. Don't trim outside the line, just trim on the line. And I know there's a lot of designers that say, oh, just trim outside the line and then you sew on the lines. We're going to remove the foundation paper before we sew. So we want to make sure that it's cut to the traditional size that it's supposed to be. And the only way you can do that is to trim right on the line.
Also, if you guys are looking for that, like if you haven't used those acorn starch pens before and you're looking for one, we do have those listed on the Quiltworx website under products and then notions, and you'll be able to find both little pressing pins, and there's even a little starter pack. If you were part of the box program last year, you probably got some of those from us, and there's refills for them, and there's little nub replacements.
And I think there's some glue, acorn glue in one of those starter packages too. So.
Yeah, so there's other acorn products, and they're all really good products.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to remove that long piece from the center. And then we're going to find our little pair of tweezers and get all of that out of the little seams there. And now we're going to take and get the rest of it. And I am going to show you a little trick I've found is when I'm working with something like that, if I put my fold template down along that, sometimes it's a little bit easier to get a hold of that to tear that back. Okay, so then we're going to start on line 13, section 13, and we're going to remove the paper on that. And I'm going to take a little stiletto, and it's not wanting to come out right there at the tip, which is very common when you're working with these really skinny tips, getting that paper out of there. So I like to use tweezers and get it off before I go to the machine. And be careful, because that I'm working with Tim Holtz fabrics, and it really frays on those tips when you're trying to get that piece out of there. Okay. So that's the worst one. The rest of them are going to come off pretty easy now. So I'm going to take this one off. I'm not going to pull all the paper off for this. I'm just going to get along the edges here. Okay. Just enough to where I can actually sew the next piece onto it. So on this one, we're actually going to tear back the paper on each one of these lines. So we'll just go ahead and rip that off. I'm going to use my fold template here, put it right on the line, pull this up. Then we're going to move that down to there. And you have to hold that template down on that, right at those points, to get that to tear back for you. When you're removing paper, which I'm not following my own rules right now, you should always start at the last section and work back in reverse order. And I'm not doing that right at the moment because I didn't want to tear it all off. So it's harder to get it away from those seams. There we go. And then here's my top piece. Okay. So we have enough of it off that I can actually finish up the demonstration. Get rid of all this paper.
Someone said, could you wet those lines?
No.
So lines to rip easier.
No. All that does is make it harder to get it off when it's wet, because your paper starts to dissolve and
it doesn't tear.
It just doesn't tear off. You're better off just to leave it dry, take a fold template, and work back from the first one on, because After you get the first piece off, it really does start tearing back. If you have that fold template there, it tears off pretty nice. And yes, this one is going to be miserable to work with as far as getting the paper off, but you need to just get it off before you assemble. And if you're not going to assemble for a while, just leave it on there, because the paper does protect the piece from fraying. As soon as you pull it off, then you have to deal with the fact that there's bias and it's going to stretch. And so if you don't have to sew this together today, you can wait until you're ready to assemble the whole quilt, and then you can put these pieces together. All right, so I'm going to match down here. Okay, there was one TRP line that I did sew. Maybe I didn't do it on this piece. I must not have sewn the TRP line. There is one TRP line, and it falls right in this area where the point comes in. So we're going to take our glue, and I'm going to put glue on the tip here, and I'm going to work my glue up about 3/4 of an inch and get that solid down there. Then we're going to find a flower pin, and I'm going to put a pin right along here on the bottom there. And now we can keep working this up, and we're going to match as we go. And I'm just going to work it slowly and do a nice job getting that, because the straighter you get that on there, the better it's going to look. And if you're using Tim Holtz fabrics or like our cotton fabrics, you're also going to find that your glue is going to dry out a lot faster on your cotton fabrics than it does on your batiks. Okay, so now then this piece, it comes up and it matches right around that corner. So there's a little corner right here, and then it comes right up there. And I'm going to take and put my glue and then go right around that corner. And then there's a corner on this piece, and I'm just going to make that match. So we're going to get that lined up here the way it's supposed to be. Now sometimes in our instructions we have you guys set up for repress seams. This particular pattern, this seam's not going to match up to anything, so there's no repress seams there that you have to worry about. So all we're going to do now is just come in here and do a straight seam along there. I have a lot of students that don't know how to finish off these, so what we're going to do today is we're going to take this and we're going to put our ruler right along the tip of that. And then I'm going to take a marking pencil and I'm going to hold this down really solid, and I'm going to mark a sew line at 1/4 of an inch. And what you'll find is that 1/4 of an inch comes right out on the tip there, and we need to follow that all the way out. My pen is broke. Time to get a new one. And then we're going to do the same thing down here. Okay, so that tells me where I'm going to start sewing, and this one tells me where I'm going to end sewing. The rest of it, I'm just going to use my pressure foot, my 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're going to grab a little piece of newsprint. Make sure it's something that doesn't have glue on it. And I usually have a little stack of these right next to my machine, and I start sewing on my paper. Okay, and then we're going to,
Hold on, I was watching you and not watching the video. So
Oh.
I'm like watching you do it and I can switch.
so I have a little piece of paper there, all right, and then I'm gonna lift up my pressure foot and I'm gonna lay my fabric right down on the paper and then put my pressure foot down on it. And I don't have to worry about my fabric getting sucked down into the little hole on your, where your dogs are. And it's kind of like having a little starter fabric, but then I can just pull that paper off, cut it off, and I have a perfect 1/4 inch there. And I'm going to increase my stitch length up to about a 2.2 on this because there's no paper underneath there. And just go slow because there's a lot of seams underneath there. So we're going to slow way down because I'm climbing up on top of some other seams here. And if I don't slow down, then it's not going to sew straight. Now I'm where I drew that line, I'm at that line, and then I'm going to actually take a piece of fabric because my pressure foot's going to take that point and move it sideways. Just going to go like that. So if I slip that piece of paper under there, once I get, okay, so now I'm on the paper. I'm going to put my needle in down position, and now I can control my point by rotating and moving the paper. So all I have to do is adjust the paper and I have control over where that point is. So we're going to take and we're going to cut, and I want to show you guys, can you see that? The way that's set up. And then I'm going to show you the other end. So see where the other end is, how I started that?
Yep.
Okay, so now all we have to do is we're going to take a rotary cutter and I'm going to cut right along the edge of the paper there. And we're going to cut right on this point here and get rid of the threads, because if I leave the threads on there when I go to pull that paper, it's just going to fray my stitches. So I like to get rid of that. Cut right along the tip, then I pull the paper off. We're going to cut right along this tip, and then all we have to do is pull the paper off. And we're going to open this up, and it looks so cool. And we're going to press. And this one, I'm going to press it. So this one's pressed that way, so I'm actually going to press this one this way because these are going to be opposing seams right here. So I'm going to press this last seam so it goes, this one's, both of them are pressed away from me now. So we'll grab our starch pen even though it's empty, and since it's empty, I'm going to show you guys how to fill it. So if you have one of these, there's a little cap right here on the end. And mine is actually a pretty one because somebody gave this as a gift to me. Tina Luders is a certified instructor, and her daughter makes these, and they're really cute. And then we just fill that up until it overflows. You don't have to overflow. It's kind of like filling up a gas tank. You can stop it before it runs over the edge. All right, I didn't get it stopped soon enough, so now it's all down the side. And now we're going to take this and we're going to run it right along there. And if you're looking and trying to figure out who Tina Luders is and who her daughter is, she works at Stitch in Heaven. She's a certified instructor from the east side of Dallas, the east side of Dallas. in Texas.
Also, I don't think that's how you pronounce her last name, Mom.
Huh?
I don't think that's how you pronounce her last name.
Well, how do you?
Which cracks me up because that's always the way I said it too. So
Yeah.
Tina's gonna have to chime in or someone and tell us how to do it. But I think it's lighters.
All right. When I see her in a
lighters
month,
or-
I'll ask
Yeah.
her.
And then we'll have to say it 100 times to rethink our
Yeah.
mind. But I think it's lighters or liters. I can't remember. Anyway. Sorry, Tina. We've been pronouncing your last name wrong for way too many years, and someone said it. It might have even been Dennis who said it the other day, and I was like, oh, I think I've been pronouncing her name wrong all these years.
Oh, I'm sure I have.
How did we mess that up? Leaders. There you
Leader?
go. Yeah, somewhat Dennis chimed in.
Okay, there you go, you
Oh.
guys. Isn't that cute?
Yes.
So we designed these because in Montana we have trees that turn yellow. What are they called? What are the trees?
Tamaracks.
Tamarack.
But they're actually larches, but we've called them tamaracks our whole lives. And then an article came out in the paper and was like, just so everybody knows, they're not really called tamaracks, which is funny because we have all these businesses all around the valley named
Good.
after them. But anyway,
But
apparently they're
anyway,
larches.
They turn yellow. They start from really kind of greenish yellow, and then they get really bright in the fall when they turn colors.
Yeah.
And so that's why we designed this block years ago. And then we never did anything with it because every time I looked at it, I thought, ooh, that's an ugly block. But then when we put it in our diamonds and we started coloring it, we fell in love with it because it really does do some cool stuff. All right,
Well, there you go.
there's
Okay.
our quilt.
So that is quarter one of the large box. We'll be back in a month. So early April, we'll do the wedding ring table runner that you can see there. And then we'll have a couple months. We'll be back in June for quarter two of the box program. for
And
the big
sometime
box.
in between all that, we have to catch up on some stash buster demonstrations and a bear.
I'm gonna try and get the stash busters
And a bear.
filmed before we leave on all of our trips. We'll be in Texas, and then I don't know if any of you are in the Chicago area, but if you are, Quiltworx and a number of our certified instructors will have a booth at the Fiber and Fabric Craft Festival, and then we'll be at H&H, and there will be lots of fun stuff at all of those events. So stop by and see us if you're in those areas. So I think that's everything.
Yep, we'll see you guys later. At
right.
least in 2 months, probably.
Yeah, when we come back on the videos. So
Yep.